If I could describe the Get My Life tour in one word, it would be vulnerability. Showing up for yourself is so important. Welcome to the Get My Life tour. I'm your host, Lydia T. Blanco. Hey y'all, it's me Lydia and I am back in Harlem ready for this stop on the tour. And shout outs to you for joining me. If you are returning, my hat is off to you because you have made a commitment to take center stage in your life and practice vulnerability. And if you are here for the first time tuning in, welcome to the Get My Life tour. I'm your host, Lydia T. Blanco. And from the introduction, you know that this tour is all about practicing vulnerability and showing up for yourself. And that's exactly what we are going to talk about today, but as it relates to being who we say we are. In other words, authenticity. So many times we think about authenticity as it relates to showing up in the workplace. I know as a professional, as a millennial, authenticity right now is really trendy in the mindfulness space, and everyone's talking about how we can show up as our best and authentic selves to work. I actually have put that into practice, and being consistent with how I show up really helps me professionally as I leverage up, as I, pursue leveling up and things of that nature. But that is not what I want to talk about today, because it's not basic, right? Someone needs that information as they practice being themselves in the workplace. But I really want to talk about being who you say you are and authenticity as it relates to, how we show up in the world. We have so many distractions. We have so many people that we could compare ourselves to. And, there's so much that we want as ambitious, young women and men, right? But I think that we get to those things even at a faster pace when we actually are who we say we are and we're clear about that. This may sound crazy, or maybe it doesn't. Let me not even say that may sound crazy. But to me, that is what I strongly believe. And when I think about authenticity, I think about the power that we possess when we are who we say we are, and the power that we possess when we show up as ourselves. Have you ever tried being somebody else? Trick question. Well, no, I guess that's not that tricky. Yeah, I guess, some people really try to emulate others. But here's the question I want to ask you. Have you ever been disappointed because someone wasn't who they claimed to be? I know I have. And as I, thought about asking you that question, I had to ask this follow-up question, which is, have you ever thought about how you not being who you say you are affects other people? I like to believe that the world is waiting for us. And in that, it calls us back to being who we've been called to be, right? And when you think about that power that we possess, when you think about, who we really are, all of that takes, time, and it's a journey, and it requires, implementation and practice, right? And on my journey, on my Get My Life tour, I've been reading The Gifts of Imperfection by Brene Brown, and here is her definition of authenticity. Authenticity is the daily practice of letting go who we think we are supposed to be and embracing who we actually are. When I read that, I read it numerous times. I can't tell you how many times I read that. And I asked myself, who am I, who do I think I am? Who am I supposed to be? When you think about, living the lives we're created to live as, Pastor Michael Warren Jr. outlined for his community of dreamers, doers, and visionaries at First Corinthian Baptist Church here in Harlem. There's so much that goes into that, but at the root of that is authenticity, is clarity, is purpose, and so many other things. And when we take that seriously, it calls us to a higher vibration, right? I don't think that we can claim to be something and not be love and kindness and so many other things. So, the daily practice of letting go who we think we are is so important. There's so much that I'm unlearning, y'all, and there's so much that I've had to unlearn along the way, right? I remember showing up to spaces and thinking that I was too much. So I humbled myself in a way that wasn't beneficial to anyone, especially not myself. And I remember shrinking my voice or holding back on something I thought, would push the narrative further, or not saying the thing that would be, quirky or funny that would break an awkward silence and be timely, but, still not do it because I just couldn't be myself in a room full of people who didn't know who they were, because that was unacceptable. And I think about that personally and professionally, right? I know I said I wanted to go a little further than the professional, but, sometimes it goes hand in hand depending on depending how much your life personally and professionally are intertwined. But I say all that to say, there's so much unlearning we have to do as we practice being who we say we are. And it's a process, y'all. As a recovering perfectionist, I thought that I was so many different things until I realized there was so much that I had to let go. We want a lot as professionals, as go-getters who are ambitious and all these other things. But there's so much that we have to let go in order to receive and pick up the things that we need, the tools, the resources, the information, and whatever else there may be to get to that next point in life, right? When I think about being disappointed by others who weren't who they said they were, it calls me to practice, vulnerability so that I can be who I say I am. Somebody is waiting for you. Maybe you're waiting for you. And that means that you have to show up as who you've been called to be. I wrote a few things down because I thought they would be helpful, right? As we practice being who we say we are. And the first one is be kind, even if you aren't necessarily friendly. Have you ever been told, this is just the way I am, or that's just the way she is, girl, don't even trip. He's just like that. Don't worry. It's not you. Don't take it personal. I think we've all heard similar things. And I think that some people have gotten so content with how things are or who they've always been. And that's just it's inauthentic. And I say be kind even if you aren't friendly, because as you show up to spaces being who you say you are, even if you aren't the most friendly person, it is still important to be kind while being cordial. And I say that to challenge some people who this may be applicable to, or as you share this information with others, because so many times when we engage and encounter others, we have a really bad experience because they aren't the most warm person, or they're not friendly. They may be, serious about their business and on a mission to get whatever it is that they set out to get. And friendliness is not, top of mind. It's not a priority for them. But being kind goes such a long way. And I don't know what your personality type may be, but as you show up as who you are, I just want kindness to be at the center. Can you imagine if just two more of the people who you had to engage with on a regular basis practice kindness? I'm just saying, okay? That's all I'm going to say. Be kind to me at least, all right? When you see me, be like, hey, Lydia, okay, great, okay, no. So my next point is practice being unshakable. As you practice being who you say you are, practice being unshakable. There is so much that penetrates us. There's so much that comes at us in life and so many things that we have to deal with on a daily basis, that may be something that we've always dealt with or it's just come up all of a sudden. But I think that it's important to practice being unshakable because when anything happens, if the wind blows and you are shaken by that or something happens and you aren't firmly rooted, I believe that's when it's easy to get out of character. And if you're out of character, you most definitely aren't showing up as who you are now. I know we all get upset and feel a range of emotions, but I'm talking about not being shakeable, okay? There's so much that happens, but, weak trees, bend and break once pressure is applied. And I've never read that anywhere. I don't know where that came from. But those trees that are firmly rooted can stand in storms. And, once the storm passes, it's still the same tree. That is like, I don't know. I'm really trying to give you a good analogy or metaphor or whatever. I hope that worked. You let me know, okay? The next thing that I have here is don't apologize for being who you've been called to be. There may be people who make you feel like there's something wrong with being on fire or passionate about something, even about who you are. If you take yourself seriously, that's not a bad thing. Now, sometimes you got to ease up. I get it. But you don't have to apologize for being who you are. So in other words, be unapologetic. And then the other half of that is to not apologize for other people. I think that when we learn, or that when we are too apologetic and apologize on other people's behalves, that is something that also brings us out of character, and that is not the best way to practice authenticity. That is not a daily practice of letting go of who you are supposed to be when you're apologizing for other people on other people's behalf. And I don't want to go on too much longer, but I will share my mic drop moment with y'all because we gotta have a mic drop moment every stop on the tour, and I am pulling mine up right now because I wrote it down, and it is something that I have shared on the interwebs before, and it is stop being spiteful of people who know their worth. Bet on yourself. I think oftentimes we get so caught up in who others are, and we want to root for them, and we think somehow that their journey may be a little bit better than ours, or maybe they had it easier. I don't know. But those who show up as themselves, I think have it a little easier. I think they make it easier for themselves because they're not comparing themselves to others. They're not worried about what someone else is doing. They're just being themselves. They're just being who they say they are. So once again, my mic drop moment is don't be spiteful of people who know their worth. Bet on yourself. Be yourself. Be who you say you are. Show up as your authentic self. And that requires vulnerability and consistency. So, you got to do those things because those things are important too. Just as important as, feeling like you belong in your workplace because, you showed up as yourself and they got to take it or leave it. Be consistent. The same way you want one thing is the same way that you have to, get give that to other people.